Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Well, it's always good to get the perspective from Seattle and Houston. Thanks to Matt Pentz and Corey Roepken.
And next week we'll try and get a Toronto and a Columbus guy to come on.
Yes.
And talk about that series. But Steven, I want to ask you, hashtag Save the Crew versus TFC. What do we expect, and what could be potentially, I'm saying potentially, the last playoff game at Columbus for the Crew?
Wait, are they moving this offseason?
Well, if they miss the playoffs next year, then it'd be a last playoff game.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know. That's stretching it, Armand, just a little bit.
Portland Timbers won the MLS Cup and then didn't make the playoffs next season. It's not a stretch. MLS is all about parity.
No, it is all about parity, but you just don't know. I mean, Seattle's could go back-to-back MLS Cups, and Toronto could do the same thing.
Yeah, and then
so much for parity after that.
But hey, I mean, it's for the storylines. It's for the storylines, man.
Yeah, okay, hype it up. Hashtag Save the Crew, which it's starting to get under my skin a little bit.
It should be. That's the point of a protest, is to make you uncomfortable. But before we talk about the game, I wanted to mention about that meeting. I think I told you about it.
Yes.
The meeting between the Crew ownership, the MLS, and the Columbus partnership and the mayor of Columbus, which just seemed like two people just demanding things from each other, and it sounded like both the stories lined up. And at first I was like, who do we believe? You can believe both, because Columbus was saying, hey, we want an assurance that you'll stay in Columbus, while Precourt was more like, we want an assurance that you can give us like a stadium land or something like that. So it was literally nothing was going to come out of it. If that's what's going to happen, nothing's going to change.
It's interesting because, I mean, it's a sellout, right? 1,000 fans from Toronto are going to show up, which I think that red and yellow is going to be an awesome dynamic. We know Toronto fans are absolutely insane, which is fantastic. Columbus is his underdog, right?
I feel like the league wants them to win, though. Like, supporters within the league. Supporters, I feel like, but they are a good team, and I think they're favored to, again, with this weird playoff system, Columbus has the opportunity to set the tone in a leg where Toronto won't have Giovinco and they won't have Altidore. And those are two huge things. But let's not discredit Toussaint Ricketts, who actually scored, I want to say, twice in Toronto's 5-0 win over Columbus during the season. So don't discount Toronto's backups. They're supposed to be the best MLS regular season team, the best team with depth, so they should be fine. But Columbus...
They haven't played against each other in a long time. So this series leads is Toronto 2-1. TFC won 2-1 on the road May 10th, 5-0 at home May 26th, and then the Columbus have their one win in April at home.
Yeah.
And a lot of goals have scored. In these 3 games, 11 goals.
That's a lot. Do we expect that firepower?
Absolutely.
Tomorrow night?
Absolutely. The question is, first of all, no, because Josie Altidore and Giovinco both out. So what do you think Toronto's going to do? They're probably going to set back a little bit more. They're going to play...
I think they will. I think you're right. I think they will sit back. I think they'll either switch their formation or they'll stick to the same system but have the wingbacks push back a little bit. I also again, don't discredit Toussaint Ricketts, but they might switch to a one striker set instead of the 3-5-2 that they've been running.
Do you think, because Columbus, I think, is going to go after Toronto? I mean,
as they should.
Here's a statistic for you. Since 2011, Higuain, the brother of Gonzalo Higuain, the older brother, he has scored 7 goals, tallying 7 assists in 14 appearances against Toronto since 2012.
And we saw what they did to NYC. They destroyed them in the first leg, and that set the tone.
And 3 games this season, 1 goal and 2 assists for Higuain.
And you can't forget about Justin Miram. You can't forget about Ole Kamara, who's coming off his first call-up from Norway. you can't forget about the Crew. I mean, to be honest with you,
they're a
the
good
Crew
team.
looks really good.
Berhalter has done a phenomenal job tactically setting his team up to succeed. Think about how much possession they surrendered against NYCFC. It was something like 30. It might be close. I think it's like a 65%. I mean, it might be like 38 if I remember correctly. But Columbus is okay with just sitting back and defending. And
you have to give credit to Zach Steffen as well. He has been a magnificent goalie. I mean, he obviously has some luck of the post, but I do think what Berhalter has done is he has, if you're looking at Atlanta game especially, Atlanta didn't have any clear-cut opportunities to genuinely score except for one. They're a prolific offense. They average so many goals per game. And Berhalter calmed them down. You saw them take advantage of NYC's red card and set the tone and basically knocked NYC out before the second leg even happened. I mean, to be honest with you, Columbus is not a team to be an underdog. I think, if anything, these teams are more even than we think.
Well, I mean, Drew Moore warned and talked about how he is, Murray and Santos like to get forward and wide, and the defenders like to push forward, and they sometimes could sneak into the midfield and create a lot of mismatches that could be taken advantage of. I mean, think about this. Crew are playing with house money at this point. So they can go in this game, and if they could do almost what they did against NYCFC, get a goal or two lead, then you're putting real pressure on Toronto. And remind me how Michael Bradley has done under pressure this season, or this year.
Hey, you know about that.
Yeah, so he turns into a sheep, to put it in his terms, playing the game fairly. So I don't know. This is a very intriguing matchup because I think it could be an absolute goal fest, or you could see some real hatred. And I don't want to hashtag save the Crew to be about saving the Crew. I want this game Tuesday night should be about the team on the field and the success they've had this past season. It's not about the fans, and it's not about the ownership, and it's not about relocation. It's about the 90 minutes should be about the game, right?
I mean, to an extent, but their team is looking more and more likely that they're going to move. I do think they should all unite. They can scream whatever they want at pre-court. They can all unite around their team, kind of like they did in the NYC game, and we'll see. I mean, hopefully it is a sellout, and hopefully we don't get confusion about the attendance as we did last game, and hopefully it's an entertaining game. I really expect it. Eastern Conference has given us nothing but fun games to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, Armand, let's go. We're moving on from this because we're going to have some reporters next week to talk about Toronto and the Crew. We'll get the leg 2 series this week. We did the leg 1 for Toronto, Houston, and Seattle. But let's talk about some off-the-field issues regarding Major League Soccer because honestly, with this international break, it has felt like they have had. It's almost felt like we're in the off-season mode, and we forget that the season is, this is the crux of the season.
No, you're right. Spot on.
So, I don't know. Any headlines that stick out to you?
Oh, gosh. Should we just start? Caleb Porter and Portland splitting?
Yeah, that's really weird.
In my, many people are saying it was mutual. I mean, Porter says it was mutual. Portland says it was mutual. I don't think it was. Usually, I mean, you think it's possible, but usually when you leave a top side, it's because of some sort of power struggle, and that was initially reported by Paul Tenario, who broke the news of them splitting sides. But I do think some power struggle did happen. That's my assumption on the whole situation. I don't know about you, but I genuinely think some sort of power struggle between ownership, GM, coach, whatever, caused Porter to say, you know what, this isn't worth it for me. I'm out. Maybe I'll wait. Maybe take a year off and end up at FC Cincinnati. Should we start the rumors or?
Yeah, let's start it here. FC Cincinnati will get Caleb Porter. How about some player reports? LAFC going after Egyptian international Omar Gaber. Actually plays at FC Basel.
Oh, yeah, your favorite team.
I'm telling you, that team produces players, and a lot of Egyptians have come out of that system. Salah, he played at Basel.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Leicester City interested in Jack Harrison.
I feel like every English team has been linked with Jack Harris at least once.
Yeah.
I don't know if him moving to England right now would be a good move for him. I don't think he'd play.
What about Yaya Toure and Błaszczykowski, the Ivory Coast midfielder and the Polish, making ways to MLS, one for NYCFC?
If you can get Toure on a non DP deal, that's a steal. And Błaszczykowski is kind of falling off from his form when he was first rumored to go to the Chicago Fire.
The Chicago Fire.
Yeah, that's what I think. Steven, let me ask you something. What do you think of the bid to see Nashville get the stadium all approved? Who do you think's next two teams?
FC Cincinnati and Nashville.
Really? Yes. I've been keeping up with Cincinnati. They're having stadium issues. I think it's more going to be Sacramento and Nashville.
What is exactly how much does FC Cincinnati command of the merchandising sale in American soccer? It's pretty high, actually. I think it's top 5.
Top 3.
Top 3. How can MLS say no to that?
Well, it's not MLS. They didn't get their stadium situated. How can MLS say no to the highest valued ownership with Detroit? Simply put, they're not putting in a soccer specific stadium.
Well, okay, so is it that FC Cincinnati will not get a stadium, or it just hasn't been? They haven't.
It hasn't been confirmed yet. They were struggling. It's the rust. I mean, they're gonna probably get it, but Hamilton County did advise them to use Paul Brown Stadium, and for those who don't know what that is, that's the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium.
No. We talked about this last week, and
obviously MLS said nope. They could be looking at Newport.
Yeah.
It's a city in Kentucky. It's 5 minutes away from downtown, and apparently there would be a nice stadium site, and a lot of people would like that. And they're also looking towards Oakley, which is another stadium, another development in urban Cincinnati, and people said they'd be fine with that too. So I mean, just one in Hamilton County looks like it won't get done, but the rest of them,
Here's another rumor for you: Chicharito, LAFC.
Won't happen.
Won't happen?
No. Unless David Moyes decides to say, you know what, screw it, we're not going to play him anymore, it shouldn't happen. That'd be stupid. He's good for West Ham. I mean, come on. Come on.
Fair enough.
Stop it. Stop it.
Armand, one more last thing before we get back to MLS playoffs. Almiron, is he A, going to leave, and B, what's the fee?
I say no. He won't leave, and he'll play MLS one more season, and he'll leave next year for a fee that'll command. It'll be higher because they'll see him play, and it won't be a fluke. I think 25-30.
32.5.
Will he leave this year or next year?
Here's the thing, Atlanta United, they could make, if the bid is high enough, you say goodbye. And you go in and invest in some money. The thing is,
they're rejecting bids.
I know, but it's hard to tell. But I mean, why not? What happens if Almiron takes a nosedive and then Atlanta United loses their profit?
Well, what if the sky falls down? There's always a risk involved.
Well, obviously, but I think you get rid of him now and you go put the money into another player.
I don't think you get rid of him now because who's your replacement?
Well, that's the thing. You need to find a replacement. The thing is, you only sell him if you have a replacement in mind.
And I think the commitment Arthur Blank has with Atlanta United has shown that he's not going to just sell just to make money. He doesn't need the money.
Clearly not. They just opened a brand new stadium. It's complicated. We'll talk more. We'll talk more when we get to the actual off season. Quickly, final minute here, Armand. Predictions. I don't need scorelines. Who are we going to see for 2017 MLS Cup?
You wait till next week for MLS Cup?
Leg 1 starts tomorrow.
Yeah, but the second leg's gonna be coming up the week after.
The prediction happens. Oh, you can't say after results.
All right, fine. You know what? Fine.
It's like picking your Super Bowl champ at halftime.
Well,
it doesn't really work.
At halftime. I think it's going to be a Toronto, and wait for it, Houston final.
Damn, I actually was thinking the same